Hello, can I speak to Shazad?
Yes, speaking.
Oh, hi.
Beth here from Horton Park in Linfield Mount.
Okay.
Hi there. I left a message for you earlier in the answer phone.
Sorry,
I'm
who
just
is this
trying
again?
again.
Sorry.
It's Dr. Smith.
Oh, hello, doctor. Yes.
Hi there.
Sorry, I was at Friday prayer, so I've not had an opportunity to read your message.
All right. Okay. Sorry. I didn't know when the best time to call you would be.
Okay, all right. Obviously, I've been requesting to speak to you for some time now.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know what's happening with my brother.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, as you know, there's been, your brother's requested that we don't share any information about his clinical state. So is there specific questions that you want to ask that I can answer?
Well, it's that aspect specifically because that is a contradiction in terms. Because when I initially did speak to my brother, he says he didn't have an issue, and subsequently I'm failing to understand why he would have an issue with me dealing with his issues, considering the fact that we have a long-standing history together, and the fact that I have been liaising with on his behalf for the best part of over a decade. And this is one of the reasons I'm continuing to do so. So for the fact that it has now been established that he does not want me to act in his best interest, I am obviously, as you can appreciate, slightly dubious of this fact.
I can understand your frustration. I know that
it's not a frustration. It's not an issue of frustration. I mean, quite plainly, this has been contrived and orchestrated. Because what my brother has told me in the past when he was out with me, he says that he's not happy to, have his bloods taken. And that was the basis on which my conversations were with Dr. Sami.
Okay.
All right. And so when he was out in the community, I personally wanted him to have his bloods taken as well because I was concerned regarding his poor quality of care. But it was something that he was not willing to consent to. And this was the conversations that where we were with Dr. Sami on the 23rd of July. And then subsequently, I have been requesting to speak to Dr. Sami regarding my continued concerns. Now, on the 2nd of August, Dr. Sami rang me up and asking me to bring Talib to Horton Park. And then on the 23rd, he's been abducted from our home and sectioned. And obviously, I've taken issue with this. But then subsequently, you're telling me that he does not want to not only not share his records with me, but doesn't even want to see me anymore.
I can only tell you what he has passed to us.
Obviously,
sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Doctor. As you can appreciate, it's a valuable family member that has been abducted from us, and we are not given any resolve. And as I have gone through extreme length to try to establish the very simple and pertinent fact that I am my brother's nearest relative. So first, just to gain some clarity, has that now been accepted?
The issue of the nearest relative has been checked with our Mental Health Act office, and it's been with our AMP team who have the responsibility for identifying correctly who the nearest relative is.
So the question...
That's not been my role while your brother's been in.
Okay, all right. No, but has it been established now that I am his nearest relative?
As I say, that is an issue that you would need to take up with the AMPs.
So basically, you're signposting me to somebody else.
I'm aware that there's been a lot of conversations around this, and as I say, my role with your brother is to look after his clinical care and make sure that his clinical care is at the best level, and that's what I'm concentrating on.
Okay, all right. But the reason I bring that aspect to your attention, or I'm having this discussion with you, is if you recall in your last email to me, it's yourself that brought this aspect up about delegation of a nearest relative, and it has to be a legal process. And I had to correct you that the legal process that you're referring to is simply a consent letter.
And my understanding at the time when that email was written was that there wasn't any authority of delegation in place. Now, as I say, since your email back to me, I've taken that back to our mental health team and to our AMP team, because it's them that have the responsibility for identifying the nearest relative.
Okay, all right.
So,
because obviously we need to make some progress, and it's very difficult for me to make any progress because obviously my rights are being watered down and removed through stratagem. Because as you can appreciate, I have given now. You mentioned in that email documentary evidence. I clearly rang up from the day one. I've been saying look through Talib's previous records. Surely you have the hospital are duty bound to keep mental health records. And if those records had been searched through, then you would have established that my brother was last sectioned in May 2004 under your colleague Dr. Nasser. Okay, and I was then recognized as my brother's nearest relative, as my mother had delegated this responsibility to me. And I'm slightly concerned that I'm having to put so much effort in, and at this stage now, 28 days later, you are unable to categorically confirm that I am my brother's nearest relative.
I think, as I say, that's a question that I'm not in a position to answer.
But who is in a position to answer that? And you've clearly referencing somebody I have no idea about. They have not contacted me. The only contact I've had recently is with Vassina Brown, who has verbally recognized me as my brother's nearest relative. But
so Vassina Brown is one of our AMPs.
All right. Can you tell me who are the other people?
Well, there are a number of AMPs, but in our team, Vassina Brown is the AMP that has been dealing with it together with Nadia Khan, who I think you already know.
Well, those are
the two that are dealing with it.
Pardon?
Those are the two people that are dealing with it.
So the two people that are dealing with it are Nadia Khan and Vassina Brown, who are part of AMP. Yes.
Yes.
And whom do Nadia Khan and Vassina Brown work for?
Who do they work for?
Yes.
Well, they work within this team, the community mental health team, but as social workers, they're employed by the council.
So they're council employees, yes?
Yes.
All right. So they get to dictate and decide whom is my brother's nearest relative.
They don't dictate and decide. They look and they find the evidence.
Well, the evidence. The reality is that when I have originally rang up and spoken to the ward staff, they told me that my brother Adalat was his nearest relative. And I said, well, clearly that cannot be correct because he has no involvement in my brother's care. And he has, basically Nadia Khan, Sanjeev Singh, and that team has orchestrated events in the past to remove me and place Adalat as his power of attorney. But that power of attorney, which is recognized, which they have now orchestrated, it only gives him the power to deal with Talib's finances. There is no power in place for him to act in a healthcare capacity. And I am the one that had to rectify this. The reality is that these actions that are being perpetrated against Talib are down to the fact that Talib is now being utilized as a proxy pawn in the conflict in the ongoing conflict I have with the local authority, of which Nadia Khan and her seniors have played a pivotal role. Now, if I'm having a conflict with senior members of the council, they then are utilizing their powers unduly to adversely affect my brother Talib. Now, those are just some background information I'm providing yourself with. What obviously concerns me is the fact that Talib has now been held unlawfully for a period, I believe unlawfully for a period of 28 days. And though you may look to address his medical needs, because that's what your remit is limited to, you must understand that medication alone is not what Talib requires. No provisions are being made to meet his social care needs, which are the primary issues, and also his emotional needs as well. It must be very disturbing and upsetting for Talib not to have contact with his own family. But yet, the circumstances as they presently stand have been orchestrated to say that that have looked to prevent me or my mum or for him to come out and visit us, even on a festival day such as Eid. And now I'm struggling to understand, other than the nefarious agenda being promoted by Nadia Khan and her seniors, that obviously my brother is becoming an unwitting victim in this, and it continues to be victimized.
I'm sorry that you feel that way.
But it's not a case of feeling. I mean, I think these are, once again, let's deal with the facts. How my brother has been detained is highly circumspect, and as you know, under the Mental Health Act, as his nearest relative, I am afforded within the first 2 weeks of him being sectioned under Section 2 to make an appeal to a tribunal. Deliberate attempts have been made to remove me, so that cannot happen. And no doubt you're going to tell me today the fact that my brother is now going to be sectioned under Section 3, right? Because that's the only power that you have to hold him. And I have asked you that is not in Talib's best interest, because I'm happy for Talib to remain in hospital until such point where he's able to receive an appropriate and comprehensive care package that will meet his needs. But your insistence on him being detained further only, first of all, exasperates the matter, and clearly is not in his best interest. And but then your argument is that he lacks capacity. So let's move on to the question of capacity. If your argument is the fact that my brother has capacity to say that I should not act on his behalf, then does he not also have the capacity to say he wants to remain voluntarily at the hospital?
Your brother's capacity is something that we've been discussing and assessing during his admission. Those assessments are ongoing.
Yeah, so you see, nothing as it stands has been concluded. He's been there with yourself for 28 days. You've not been able to establish whether he has mental capacity as is defined under the Mental Health Act. You've not been able to establish myself as being his nearest relative. And so it just seems to me that the care of Talib is being hijacked by the AMP team, as you refer to them, Nadia Khan and Sanjeev Singh and Vasina Brown, employees of the council, who are looking to financially profiteer from the situation that's been created. But nothing's been conclusive. What can we say that's been conclusive, other than the fact that now he's no longer on the Section Section 2? What have you concluded in the 28 days that he has been there?
Hello?
Yes, I said what?
Sorry. No, there was just a noise.
Okay, all right. What have you concluded within the 28 days that he has been there?
As I said before, I'm not going to share the information about Talib's progress in his treatment that he's been receiving, because that's what he's asked us not to do.
Well, obviously, what I would like to say is, once again, I would like to give you some background information. In February 2014, my brother Talib was in BRI hospital, at which stage Nadia Khan was present and saying the fact that he has capacity. And I therefore asked Nadia Khan to witness my brother Talib empowering me to act on his behalf, at which point she fled from the scene. Okay, my brother has made it very, very clear that he wants me to act on his behalf. All of a sudden, while you've abducted him, now you're telling me that this is what he's saying. Tell me, doctor, is it in his best interest to remain away from his family?
We are doing our very best to act in Talib's best interest, and that's what we've done throughout this.
I once again choose to disagree with you, because clearly it is in Talib's best interest for him to come home on Eid. And how is that?
He was asked if he wanted to go home on Eid.
And why would he not want to come home on Eid?
And he declined.
Why would he decline? Are you trying to tell me, doctor, that a place where he's had his face smashed in, an email I have forwarded to you the last time he was in hospital, and he's had another patient smash a glass into his head, he wants to remain in such a place rather than spend that day on Eid with myself and my family?
I can only forward to you what I've what I've received, and that's what I received.
Okay. Well, doctor, clearly there is obviously you are knowingly and making yourself unwittingly accomplices to the fact that Talib is now being victimized by Nadia Khan and by the council in order to save costs. And this is one of the issues that I have raised with the council. There is clearly a duty of care that is the local authority have an obligation to him while he was in the community. This duty of care was being systematically neglected, and soon as I've spoken up about it, I myself have become a victim of the nefarious agenda of the local authority. Now my brother is being incarcerated there unlawfully, and I need to know how he can even be allowed to come out for a day to visit his family. Is that going to be facilitated?
That would be a possibility if that was something that he wanted.
But I have yourselves alone to go on. If you've captured somebody, would not give us access to them, and then state the fact that he does not want to speak to us and does not want to see us, I'm finding it very difficult. Why would he say those things? It seems highly unusual or very unreasonable for somebody to say these things when there has been no issue of abuse on my part or neglect on my part. I'm the one that has to raise the safeguarding alerts, as you may be fully aware of. I'm the one that is instigating the fact that Talib was being systematically neglected in the community. And now I am the one that's suffering, and Talib is the one that's suffering as a consequence of this. But so if you're saying that's what Talib wants, then clearly you must conclude that Talib has capacity.
As I said, throughout his admission, we've been working in his best interests.
Okay.
And assessing his capacity as part of that.
Yes, but how long a capacity assessment when it served Nadia's agenda when they required him to leave the hospital could be done in one session? Was his capacity not the very first thing for you to have established?
It's an ongoing assessment.
No, there's no such thing as an ongoing assessment. As far as the Mental Health Act is concerned, a person is by default assumed to have capacity unless it can be demonstrated that he lacks capacity. In the 28 days that he's been there, have you managed to determine a demonstration where he lacks capacity?
As I say, the assessments of his capacity are ongoing. I can't
Doctor,
give any more detail on that.
Doctor, you're not giving anything conclusive. You've misappropriated Talib's liberties for 28 days. The Mental Health Act states that a person is to be defined as having mental capacity unless it can be demonstrated otherwise. In the 28 days that he's been there, I appreciate that you have ongoing assessments, but has he demonstrated lack of capacity?
And you will also be aware that the capacity is decision specific and time specific. So capacity needs to be assessed in relation to a number of different areas. And that's what we're doing.
Doctor, look, I'm asking you a very simple question. In 28 days, there's no time specific. Yes, there's time specific, but like I said, the premise on the principle is always that everybody has mental capacity unless it can be demonstrated that somebody does not have mental capacity. Let me illustrate this example. I right now have mental capacity. If I was involved in a car accident, for a period of time, I would lose mental capacity. And therefore, if I went into a coma, therefore, I would not have mental capacity. But that is time specific, you're correct, until such point where I can regain my capacity. The aspect of mental capacity is always, as far as the Mental Health Act is concerned, it is always assumed that somebody has mental capacity, unless it can be demonstrated at a particular time that that person lacks mental capacity, such as me having an accident and being comatose. Therefore, I would lack mental capacity at that specific time. What you seem to be suggesting is the fact that everything's up in the air. And unless he can demonstrate his capacity, we're making the assumption that he lacks capacity. So therefore, I'm asking this.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
Well, that's what you're suggesting. That's what you're suggesting because I've asked you the simple question of 28 days he's been with yourself. Has he at any stage demonstrated that he lacks capacity?
like I say, the capacity is a complicated
I
assessment
accept
and it is ongoing.
No, it's not. That is just you're just trying to fob me off. I'm sorry to say this, but I've made it quite
honestly,
clear.
but it's just that, you know, I think this conversation's going round in circles.
The reason it's going around in circles is because you're refusing to commit to an answer. In fact, throughout this conversation, you've kept everything open and refused to provide anything tangible. All I'm asking is, in the 28 days that you've been assessing my brother, at any stage in that 28 days, has he demonstrated that he lacks mental capacity? That's a simple yes/no answer.
But it isn't a yes/no answer, because capacity is not a yes or no answer. People will have capacity in some areas and not others.
I'm sorry, doctor.
And that's why this is a complex decision.
No, doctor. I'm sorry, you're mistaken there. Capacity is a very straightforward yes/no answer. Either you have capacity or you do not have capacity. And you are deliberately, as the trust and as the local authority, are making this more complex than it needs to be, so you can rob Talib of his right. Everybody is assumed to have capacity unless it can be demonstrated at a particular time that this person lacks capacity. My brother, I can assure you, has always had mental capacity. He has, I accept, mental health problems. So what? We all have mental health problems. A person under the influence of drugs, okay, at that stage may look to lack mental capacity, but they can always regain mental capacity. And so this issue that you've said is taking you 28 days, and yet you've not been able to give a categorical answer to the simple question, does Talib have mental capacity? And your answer is that you don't know, or you're not willing to commit to anything.
My answer is that it's not a yes or no question. And
okay, all right.
That Talib has got a right to confidentiality, and that's what he's
Talib
asking
also
for
has
at this point in time.
All right, okay. Talib also has fundamentally, like we all do, human rights. One of those human rights is the right to family. So primarily, the first right that he has is human rights. All right. So his data protection rights are secondary or tertiary to his fundamental right, which is a human right. He has a human right to be treated with fairness and dignity, and to be treated like a human being, like we all do. And you're saying
that's what we are doing.
No, but you're not doing this because you're preventing him from coming home to see his family and looking to rob him of his rights. That is the situation as it stands. Because you cannot today even give me the simplest of answers. This individual lacks mental capacity. Because the next question is, when did he lack mental capacity? Because the reality is, doctor, since my brother was last incarcerated in 2004, at no stage throughout his a year and a half or nearly 2 years at hospital was the question of his mental capacity ever challenged. If you look, and let me just stop for a second here, doctor. Have you looked through his notes when he was last in hospital?
I have looked at his background history, yes.
No. I've asked when he was last in hospital. Have you looked through those notes?
I've looked back as far as the notes that we've got to go.
Okay. How far back do they go?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head at the moment.
Okay, all right. Will you be able to email me? Because the reality is that I don't believe you have his original 2004 records. And what leads me to believe this is because I am the one that's had to forward that letter to you. So one of the things that you can do for me, doctor, is confirm to me how far back your records that you do have go.
I can look at getting those dates for you.
Yes, because I do not believe that you have his records, because if you had his records, then this whole debacle of his nearest relative would have not even been an issue. And some of the things that I'm saying, it's clearly evidences to me that your records only seem to be going back to 2009 or 7 or something, and they don't go back to 2004 when he was first incarcerated. And so, in the context of you lacking that information, because I believe you do, I would like to give you further background that in 2004, my brother was sectioned under Section 2. Eventually, he was sectioned under Section 3. And so, therefore, as you know, that once somebody is sectioned under Section 3 of the Mental Health Act, once they come out into the community, they're out in the community under something called Section 117 aftercare. You're aware of this, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now, since he's been out into the community, he was receiving direct payments, which were payments made by the social services or the local authority. As part of him receiving direct payments, he became an employer and he employed personal assistants. He was being given a budget of 400 and something, 400, 410 pounds 70 pence a week. Now, if somebody lacked mental capacity, then it would have been identified then that this person cannot manage, cannot be an employer. My brother Talib has been previously incarcerated for over a year and a half, nearly 2 years, and he was fully assessed by your colleague Dr. Nasser, because I have those records, and you can speak to Dr. Nasser, whom also works with yourself in your team at Horton Park. He was last incarcerated in 2004. No issue of his mental capacity has ever been arisen until the issue now serves the local authority, and now it's all of a sudden become complex. So this is my input to yourself, Doctor, that you are knowingly, willingly partaking in a nefarious agenda by the local authority by looking to be willfully ignorant of certain key facts. And one of those key facts is that my brother does not lack mental capacity. He never has done. And if he does at any stage lack mental capacity, it will be should be clearly identified, and provision and a step as his clinician should be made to ensure that he regains mental capacity. Because there is nothing preventing him from having mental capacity, since his mental health, his schizophrenia goes back to the 1980s. Simply because he has schizophrenia does not ergo conclude that he lacks mental capacity. I hope you agree with me on this, yes?
Having mental illness, schizophrenia or others doesn't mean that somebody has or does not have capacity.
Thank you.
Capacity is a separate thing.
Thank you. Yes, I fully agree with you. Having mental health issues is something completely different to lacking mental capacity. And it has to be demonstrated what has caused Talib now to lack mental capacity.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
That's what has to be demonstrated.
And that's what we're trying to do.
Yes, but you have to demonstrate to me or to the court that something has happened which has resulted in Talib now lacking mental capacity, i.e., has he been involved in an accident where he's become comatose? I.e., has a spectrum condition such as dementia deteriorated his mental condition to a point where he now lacks mental capacity? And then the next question is that, does his condition, which results in him lacking mental capacity, is that going to be indefinite? Or is there any way of him regaining mental capacity? The purpose of the Mental Health Act is to protect people's liberties, to ensure that though people can become ill from time to time, that they are once again looked to be restored. And as a clinician, that is your primary duty, to ensure that Talib, if he is lacking capacity due to something underlying, then steps should be made to ensure that he returns to a situation where he once again has capacity. Now, everything that you've told me so far, Doctor, lead me to believe that he's on more of the side of having capacity than lacking capacity. Because you've told me, Doctor, that he has said he doesn't want me to visit him, or he doesn't want me to have his information. Those are only actions that somebody can make who has capacity to make informed decisions. And so therefore, can we now conclude that though you're not willing to commit that he has mental capacity because there's ongoing an assessment, that it's more directed toward him having capacity than him not having capacity?
I think that what it shows is that he has capacity in some areas for some decisions. It doesn't necessarily follow that he has capacity in all areas.
Okay, all right. But have you
that's the reasons for our ongoing assessment.
Okay, all right. Okay, but you see, what you're saying there is that you have to then demonstrate to a courtroom or a third party, demonstrate why he lacks capacity in those areas. Because it seems to me that what's happening is that his capacity is being subjective according to the needs and desires and objectives of the local authority. That's why it seems to me there's a clear correlation that he has capacity in certain regards that are a detriment to me and my household, but then he lacks capacity when it comes to the issues of the local authority.
I'm
And
sorry that it feels that way to you.
no, it's not. It's not a case. I can demonstrate this factually. It's not a feeling or an emotion I'm having. It is something that is clearly factual, and I base those on the fact that it was not Talib had the capacity not to come home, not to share his information, which would be to his advantage, but then he does not have capacity to remain voluntarily in the hospital, and therefore you are forcibly looking to section him.
My priority is to ensure that Talib's mental health and physical health and social functioning are at the highest level that they can be. That's my goal for his treatment.
Okay, all right. But do you accept that a person is majorly affected by his emotional state? Yes?
Yeah, it seems like a very broad question.
Well, I mean, most people are affected on an emotional level more so than, like, for example, somebody could be physically ill, but having good emotions will ease that suffering. Would you concur? Well,
Yes.
my point is, doctor, that what are you doing to address his emotional needs?
We are doing everything that we can to address his emotional needs while he's on the ward.
How can you quantify that?
I'm not sure what it is that you're wanting me to say. He's been admitted to the ward because of his mental health, and we are doing our best to treat his mental health.
Doctor, let me clarify the situation. When I have clearly stated to Dr. Sami on the 23rd of July, as somebody who's caring for my brother, that his mental state is stable. His mental state is stable because he's taking medication to help him mentally. All you can do, doctor, is tweak his mental medication in order to assist his mental health. His mental health was never an issue. I clearly explained that to Dr. Sami. So this exercise of you trying to treat his mental health is a futile task because that is not the problem. The problem, quite clearly, in Talib's case, is a social isolation issue. He suffers from social isolation because of his situation. And that's not something that you can address. So you seem to be addressing a problem that doesn't exist or is being manufactured. And the real issue is his social isolation issues. And this is what, and his personal care needs. And that can only be done by him having a comprehensive package in the community.
I agree. I think that's something that we are looking at.
But once again, nothing is being definitive, and what is happening is a can is being kicked down the road just to say, yeah, we're still doing something. What have you done? I mean, the fact that he coming home on Eid is would have emotionally been stimulating for him. And the problem I have, doctor, is that you're giving me one version of what Talib is saying. Fortunately, I have had my sisters go visit him, and they have given me a completely different interpretation of events. They've told me that Talib is low in mood, and he has been complaining to them that other people are coming to visit me, and I don't get enough visitors. So, there's a contradiction there in what you're saying as the professionals and what I have heard myself, and also what my sister has told me. So can you see where this conflict arises in me, and why I am slightly at a loss because what you're saying to me does not compute?
I can only say to you what Talib has said to me when I've been seeing him on the ward.
Look, okay, but that's not what he's been saying to me. Do you accept, doctor, that for him to come home after being incarcerated in that place is a good thing or not a bad thing?
What we want is for him to be discharged from hospital as quickly as possible.
Yes, and do you accept that by him being discharged from hospital, that it would require? Where are you looking to discharge him?
Well, that would be sort of a real factor in determining the discharge.
Okay, no, but
where is he going to go and discharge?
Yes, I mean, would it not be in his interest to return back to his mum and brother?
you've talked a lot about Talib's capacity, and
I asked a simple question, Doctor.
where he goes on discharge is a question that is something that he's got to be happy with.
Look, Doctor, let me give you.
He's got to be involved in
Doctor,
that.
I asked you a simple question, and once again, you're being quite like a politician, not looking to answer the question. Let me explain something to you further into the background, which you can confirm from Nadia Khan, okay? Because she was a witness to this. As I explained, in February, March 2014, Talib was in hospital. I told Nadia Khan and all the professionals that if Talib comes into my care, I am going to murder him. Very clearly, very categorically, the professionals were fully aware of this fact. Okay? And they assessed Talib as having capacity, and they were happy for him to return home. In fact, Nadia Khan herself, in conjunction with her senior manager at the time, Mark Trewin, and the nurse at the hospital, came and delivered Talib into my care that very day. That is some of the backgrounds that you need to be aware of. In the past, when I have threatened to murder this individual and cause him harm, quite clearly and categorically to these very simple same people, they have forcibly brought Talib into my care. Now, today, as it stands, that clearly did not happen, and as it clearly stands today, I require my brother to come home to spend time with his mother, who's elderly, whose life is very short, and she needs to spend time with her son. Talib needs to spend time with his mother. He has no issues with her. He has no issues with me. And now you're going to tell me that he does not want to return home and is quite happy to remain in some sort of institution. Is that what you're suggesting, Doctor?
That's not what I'm suggesting, but what I am saying is that at this point in time, Talib has not asked to go home. When we've offered if he did want to go home and leave for Eid, then he declined it.
But first of all, you don't speak his language, and the only person that you have who's taking charge of the situation is Nadia Khan, an individual, as I have explained, that I have a long history with, and it's not a pleasant history. All right.
Nadia Khan has not been present at my ward reviews.
Okay. Who has
when
been
we've
present?
when we've spoken with Talib, it's been through an independent interpreter.
Clearly, Nadia Khan has a great deal of influence on the situation. Has Nadia Khan visited my brother whilst he's been in hospital?
I'm not sure about that. I don't know.
Would that not be recorded in his case notes?
It could be, yes.
Yes. Okay.
But
all right.
as I say, it's not something that's been brought to my attention.
Okay. All right. But you only how often do you see my brother?
I see your brother every week at least.
Once a week?
Yes.
So you review him. So you've reviewed him 4 times so far.
But other people also have input on the ward as well.
Which other people?
The ward staff, my colleagues.
Okay. All right. Okay. I understand. Obviously, as you can appreciate, Doctor, I'm very concerned with regards to how the situation has presently transpired and all the actions that are being taken. And it's clearly an agenda that a roadmap, an agenda has clearly already been put in place, which is the fact that Talib is now looking to be discharged from there as soon as possible and placed indefinitely into a care home. His rights and liberties are looking to be denied to him, and the local authority are looking to take potentially. I can just envision that they're looking to take some sort of guardianship rights on over him. And why? They themselves had been neglecting Talib in the community. Talib has ended up in the situation that he was because of the systemic failure of the local authority. And yet it seems that once again the local authority, Nadia Khan and her seniors, are looking to hijack the process to save themselves money, and this is clearly not in Talib's best interest.
In relation to the matters around the local authority, it's not something that I can comment on. I know that there's been a lot of contact that you've had with them.
Yes, I mean this action is precipitated by the fact that I've told them that obviously I'm going to take legal action against them for the nefarious actions that they've been committing against Talib. One of the things, if you take a step back from a holistic approach, while Talib's been out in the community, he came out into the community in 2005. What has necessitated him going back into Linfield Mount Hospital? Why has that happened? And number one, and number two is why has the Bradford District Care Trust discharged him in July 2017? Clearly, there is an agenda at play here. My brother has been in the community, as I've mentioned to you. When he's come out into the community, he has previously been on Section 3, so he's out in the community under Section 117. He's remained in the community under out care patient of your colleague Dr. Penny and various other people. And all of a sudden in July 2017, the trust discharged him, saying he's no longer requiring our services. Only for a year later in 2018 for him to be resectioned.
I've only become involved with your brother's case on this admission.
Yes,
I've not been involved up to that point.
But doctor, this is what I'm trying to make. This is why I'm trying to give you this background information. The powers that be look to compartmentalize things and put pressure on you to achieve a particular objective. That particular objective prior to yourself was Dr. Sami, whose objective was to come and section him. He tells me now, I had a conversation with him yesterday, that he's not the consultant, yourself is, and he's trying to wash his hands of the situation. Slowly but surely, the agenda is being promoted by the aspects of it being all compartmentalized into slowly achieving the objective. Now, clearly, it's not nobody is going to be in a position to argue that Talib coming home is not good for Talib. And that's a very difficult argument that you're going to have to make, because obviously I will be looking to challenge any decision to continue to incarcerate him like this, and I am asking yourselves to compromise and allow him to remain there on a voluntary basis, so therefore I can be in a position to bring him home on day releases so he can meet his mother. Surely that must also be taken into consideration, the fact that he has an ailing mother, and he should be afforded an opportunity to meet her.
These are things that we have taken into consideration.
Yes. Okay, and when will but as it presently stands, and it's not just yourself, doctor, and I have experienced this with many other people, it just seems to be like everything's up in the air. And the language such as "we'll get back to you soon," and "we're still waiting," and still that things are ongoing. This state of affairs is not acceptable because nothing definitive is being committed to. Now, clearly 28 days has finished today, and I need to be provided in writing whether or not he's going to continue to be sectioned. Now, is he going to be sectioned under Section 3?
My recommendation is that he remains under Section 3.
Why is that?
Because I feel that he continues to need treatment in hospital.
But could that not be achieved by any other means?
I don't think so at this time.
Could it not be achieved on a voluntary basis?
I don't think so at this time.
Why not?
That's my decision based on the things that I've seen and heard from Talib.
All right. Well, tell me the things that you've seen and heard from Talib that necessitates him staying another 3 months at hospital. What has he demonstrated?
It doesn't mean 3 months in hospital. It's for treatment for as long as is necessary, and we are looking towards where when Talib is going to be discharged, where he's going to be discharged to.
Yes.
Those investigations are still ongoing. Those are the things that we're doing.
No, what is happening is obviously my home, Talib's home, is being attacked, so he cannot return here, and ultimately money, it's an issue of Talib. Money has been taken away from me in order to allocate it to Talib so he can be placed into a care home. That is the agenda that you're promoting, doctor, and you may choose to say that this is my recommendation, but your recommendation has been influenced not by the situation of Talib is most likely been influenced by your close association with the local authority, because that is the roadmap set for Talib. For Talib to go into a care home and for Talib's money to be utilized by the care home in order for everybody else to profiteer at the direct expense of Talib. That is frankly the situation as it presently stands. And by your saying to me that this is what he's demonstrated to you, that he requires further sectioning, he has not done so because his mental condition is stable. The reason that you're looking to resection him is because the fact where he's going to be discharged to is undecided. And his accommodation should not play a crucial factor in you continuing to detain him. Has there been any change in his medication?
As I say, I'm not going to comment on Talib's clinical treatment while he's in hospital.
Okay, all right. Okay, but I can presume that there has been no change in his medication because his medication had been tweaked to his needs back in 2005, and his medication has remained the same for over a decade while he's remained in the community. As a lack of social care provision, his physical condition deteriorated to such a stage where he could no longer look after himself, and my hands were tied. And I have been prevented from providing him with the level of care that he required, and as such his physical condition deteriorated, which had an adverse effect on his mental, which no doubt had an adverse effect on his mental condition. Now that he's gone into your care, he's at 28 days, and you're telling me that you need further investigations to establish what? You've already established that it's already been established that this individual has mental health problems. He suffers from schizophrenia. That condition is being met by his medication. So why would he need to continue to stay there other than the issue of his accommodation?
As I said, I recommended that he stays in hospital in Section 3.
Yes.
Because I believe that he does continue to need treatment in hospital at this time.
But
that we are also looking towards what is going to be an appropriate and effective discharge plan.
Okay, doctor. Do you accept that I'm his nearest relative?
Well, as I say, that's something that people have been looking into to try and clarify that. And if Vicina Brown has decided that that is the case, then I would accept that.
All right, well, fair enough.
Because it's their responsibility to identify who the nearest relative is.
Okay. All right. Well, look, irrespective, I mean, thank you for your time. I mean, there's very little else we can have a discussion about today. A decision has been made by yourself to resection him. If he's going to be resectioned, then obviously as his nearest relative, I need to be informed, and I will be looking to appeal this decision, and you can justify your reasons for continuing to deny my brother his freedom and liberties, as you state, because he continues to need further care and attention. I don't believe he does. I don't think he should not even have been taken into hospital. And the reason he has been taken into hospital is for him to be used as a pawn and held hostage in order to circumvent my own legal actions against the local authority for what they have done to my household. So you have played your part in further sanctioning him to his detriment, to his family's detriment, and in clear violation of the Mental Health Act, in my opinion, which is now being utilized to hold my brother hostage. So I think if that is the situation, then I need to be informed in writing, and I will look to appeal to a tribunal, and you can give your justifications regarding why my brother is being held like this and being denied access rights to his family, which is a violation of his human rights.
I'm sure that you will get the notification in relation to the detention.
Okay, all right. When he was originally sectioned under Section 2, whom did you notify?
The notification should go to the nearest relative, but as I say, it looks like there was confusion around who the nearest relative was.
There was no confusion.
So
it was very clear.
Maybe not from your point of view, but from the point of view of the people at the time.
Well, I mean, I made it quite clear. As soon as my brother got section, I came forward and said I'm the nearest relative. And if that is a fact that is not favourable to the nefarious agenda of the local authority and the roadmap that they're putting forward, that's their problem. There was no confusion. Similarly, there is no confusion regarding his mental capacity. It's very clear, but it doesn't serve the agenda of what's being promoted. I am my brother's nearest relative. I have more than documented that and evidenced that to yourself. And rather than accepting that, Vasina Brown ends up at my door on each day looking to carry out a mental capacity assessment for my mum, saying the fact that maybe she lacks the capacity to delegate that authority to me. All looking to circumvent the very pertinent fact that I am my brother's nearest relative, and I have been, and I have always acted in his best interest. And neither yourself nor any member of the professional body that has been looking after Talib has ever acted in Talib's best interest. All every professional has ever done is look to secure their own position and look to profiteer from Talib's mental condition. That is the reality. Whether you choose to accept that and whether you choose not to accept that, no doubt you will say, no, I am mistaken and that's my opinion. But those are the facts as I see them.
And as you say, that is how you see it. It's not necessarily how I would see it. I have always acted in Talib's best interest.
Well, clearly you haven't done so simply by telling me the fact that you're going to continue to incarcerate him for another 3 months or 6 months or indefinitely until you can locate a place for him to be sent to, where you or the local authority continue to retain control over his freedom and liberties. That is the reality. By him coming home, he has his freedom and liberties. The only thing he was lacking was his appropriate care package, which was costing the local authority too much money. So what you're looking to do is utilize the money that the local authority has stolen from me in order to pay for Talib's care costs and save on any costs that he would incur. And save on any cost that the local authority would incur. That's ultimately what you're doing. This is purely business, and it's business as usual. As you look to financially, the local authority, the Bradford District Care Trust, look to financially profiteer from the misery that you yourselves are creating. Talib does not need to be resectioned. You know this, and I know this. He did not even need to be sectioned in the first instance. Can I just ask, in this conversation, is there any third party listening?
No.
Is it just yourself and I?
It is, yes.
Okay, all right.
Why would you ask that?
Because there seems to be always a delay in your response.
No.
Okay. All right, Doctor. Well, like I said, thank you for your time, and I don't think there's anything further we can discuss unless there's anything else you want to discuss.
No, I think we've covered quite a lot of ground.
Okay, Doctor.
Okay.
I would once again encourage yourself to facilitate Talib coming home to visit his elderly mother, which he loves and cares for. My mother needs to see him as well. If he is to be continued on a section, what provisions are there for him to come out on a day release?
Well, there will always be review of his leave arrangements.
Okay. Well, in the
and if Talib wished to come home and visit, then we could facilitate that.
Doctor, I mean, you're clearly an intelligent lady. Why would Talib not want to come home? And why would Talib want to stay in a place where he has been physically attacked? Throughout his history of being in the community, there is not one shred of evidence that I or any member of my house has ever physically harmed Talib. And so you're telling me that he does not want to come out. See, this is where I believe you are partaking in this agenda by saying we are looking to respect Talib's rights. If you're looking to respect Talib's rights, then clearly his right to come home to be with his family should be paramount on your agenda, because by coming home, that would relieve some of his mental stresses and anxiety. But this is not something that you're looking to facilitate. You've told me that you've been regularly reviewing Talib on a weekly basis, and you can't tell me but no doubt there's been no change in his medication. His medication of olanzapine at 15 to 20 milligrams is appropriate for him, so that deals with his mental health issue. What other role do you play as a clinician in Talib's care?
I'm his consultant. I'm his responsible clinician. So
Yes. What role do you
my
play?
role is to draw together the input from all of the other health professionals that are involved, as well as provide the medical input.
Yes, because all right, well, if that's your role, then clearly this is one of the reasons that I talked about his emotional support. He's presently not receiving any emotional support, all right, while he's being incarcerated. He's not receiving any emotional support, and this is one of the reasons I come back to having emotional and moral support is important as well. Sorry, I'm getting another call.
All
Doctor,
right, okay.
can I continue this conversation
Sorry.
another time?
Yes, I mean, I will be away until next week now.
Well, it's a weekend coming up. I'm sorry, doctor.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go. I've got another call.
Okay then.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Please, no, don't tell me this, man. I needed that, man. Please, don't tell me this, man. Fucking record it. Why? household, but then he lacks capacity when it comes to the issues of the local authority. And it's not a case, I can demonstrate this factually. It's not a feeling or an emotion I'm having. It is something that is clearly factual. And I base those on the fact that it was not intelligent, had the capacity not to come home, not to share his information which would be to his advantage, but then he does not have capacity to remain.
हुए यहूदी डिच हुकूमत ने ये नुमाइश डिच पार्लियामेंट में करने
Listen to your messages. Press 1. To change your personal... Oh, you have 2. New messages, 0. Saved messages. To listen to today's messages, press 1.
Hello, this is a message for Shazad Hussain. This is Dr. Smith. I'm calling in response to your calls. Can I give you a call later on this afternoon? Thank you.
To listen to the next message, press 1.